As the Nationals dropped game one of the Texas Rangers series, and as we said, it was the biggest test of this Nationals season. There were some positives, but ultimately, what is wrong with Keibert Ruiz?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on X. And later on in the show, we will be previewing game 2 of this Rangers series. As you know who's on the bump today, it is the ace. I know, I cannot believe I'm saying that. The ace of this staff, Trevor Williams, going up against the left-handed pitcher, Andrew Heaney, who has been off to a very slow start in 2024. So we'll discuss that in the third segment of today's show. In the second segment, we're going to kind of take a trip down in the minor leagues. As we all know, in Locked On Nationals here, your boy, I do love some minor league prospects. So you have Dylan Cruz coming back from a hamstring injury, and it's been a little bit rough so far in 2024. Also, Robert Hassell. It started off a little bit rough, but now he's kind of making that comeback that we all were kind of hoping and imagining that he could someday after breaking his hamate bone back just a few seasons ago. And also, Travis Sykora, one of the Nationals' top pitching prospects, in my opinion, probably the highest upside pitching prospect in this farm system, will be making his Fredericksburg Nationals debut, and you should be excited. We'll discuss that all in the second segment of today's show. But of course, let's talk about game 1 of this Rangers National Series. But before we get into it, today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that is code LockedOnMLB. So now let's get into it. As again, the Nationals dropped 7-1 against this Texas Rangers team. And if you really kind of get into the script of the game and really what went wrong, let's start off with MacKenzie Gore. Nothing went wrong with Gore. I think we all kind of expected MacKenzie to take this step up this year. And so far, he's been relatively nails for this Nationals team. He is the ace of this staff up to this point. Even going up against a very strong Texas Rangers offense, he held pretty well. And again, he went 5 innings pitched. He had 5 hits, 7 strikeouts, and only 1 walk. And again, early on in McKenzie's career, even just going back to last year, going back to his time in the minor leagues as well, MacKenzie Gore struggled in one specific category. He would walk the yard. That is always what kind of helped and kind of held him back, even just a little bit from taking those next steps. As we've kind of gone on into this year, again, only walking 1 batter against a very good Texas Rangers team, that's encouraging. But even then, if you look at all of his starts from this season, you know, there are some things to take care of it, but he has yet to walk more than 2 batters in 1 start. That is a much, much, much better improvement from what we saw just from 2023. That alone tells me that he is taking all this teaching from whoever it is, with Jim Hickey being the pitching coach, Sean Doolittle being a very big part of this Nationals managerial staff and kind of part of this pitching program, which the Nationals have had a lot better results in 2024. Whoever the one doing this, it's working. And you've seen it with the Nationals pitching so far all offseason. Obviously, there are still some holes in the game. You still have Patrick Corbin out there every 5 days at this point. But even then, you have to like where this staff is headed. You have to kind of like where the future of this Nationals starting rotation is going to be as far as prospects go, as far as guys already on the roster. There are a ton of different things that are going the Nationals' way that, in my opinion, I think you can contribute to the help of Sean Doolittle, and while we're at it, maybe even Jim Hickey. Why not? So now we get into it, and MacKenzie Gore, yesterday it wasn't like a completely flawless start. He still had some hiccups. He still had some hard-hit balls, but still, when you are 24, 25 years old, a left-handed pitcher going up against the Texas Rangers, and, you know, it's not like the Nationals were playing for a postseason spot yesterday, but You are playing for the chance to be above 500 for the first time as a Washington National if you're MacKenzie Gore. That means something. I don't care who it is. I don't care who you're playing against. These guys want to win every single day, even back in 2022 when you're winning 25 games more than what it felt like. This team wants to win. And still, it is a competitive ball club. But there are a couple news and notes from this game yesterday. And again, this has been the trend here. If you look back into the bullpen, the Nationals, just a few years ago, you look at Tanner Rainey. Big, 99 to 100 mile per hour fastball. Pretty nasty slider. You're like, something could work here. This could be a closer down the line. Fast forward a few years, post Tommy John, 3 earned runs in the 9th inning, or in the 8th inning. This is not what we expected. And again, I hate to just kind of pounce on Tanner Rainey. Something is not right. He's got a 9.82 ERA, but even then, I don't look at ERA for bullpen guys, but that just kind of tells you what he is right now. Giving up 3 earned runs in that inning, another home run, only 2 strikeouts, walking the batter. It's not working. It's plain and simple. At this point in time with Tanner Rainey, it's just unfortunate. You can't really go into any baseball game this year and kind of just expect nothing, because that's what it is. I hate to say it and I hate to put it like that, but that's just simply what it is at this point. You can't go into a baseball game in which you want to win, whether it's the 7th inning in a 4-1 ball game, the Nationals are winning, and you put Tanner Rainey out there. That should just not be happening at this point. I don't know what the role will look like for him moving forward, but still, I think at this point, you probably just should DFA him. And that is an unfortunate thing to say because, again, this is someone who did have promise, who the Nationals were excited about, who I was excited about, someone who I thought who could take a step up, who would be back from Tommy John. It's not looking like that at this point. It's been a little bit. He had an entire offseason to recover fully healthy. And this is what it is. And again, it's not his fault. This is nobody's fault. This is just what happens to guys who throw 99 to 100 and who have Tommy John surgery. This is just sometimes the unfortunate outcome for guys who are flamethrowers. And it's just not the same anymore for Tanner Rainey. Someone who hasn't been the same really since last year is catcher Keibert Ruiz. Are we going to, at one point, just kind of acknowledge the struggles here? Because I think, in my opinion, after getting that big extension last year, and again, that extension that Keibert got, whatever you think of it, it's not a bad contract. It's so cheap, it's going to be nothing in just a few years. But Keibert Ruiz is 1 for his last 25. He has 1 hit in his last 25 plate appearances. And again, yes, he was sick. He was on the IL. But these are all kind of noteworthy things at this point. This is starting to be a track record now. And again, Keibert Ruiz is a very streaky hitter. We've always known that. Last year, he'd have this weird roller coaster of he'd be at the top of the mountain batting 300 with 1,000 OPS, hitting a few bolts. But now it's just kind of coming crashing back down to earth. And the defensive struggles are real. He has maybe gotten slightly better, but even then, he's getting slightly better from being one of the worst defensive catchers in Major League Baseball last year. The struggles are real with Keibert right now. Something has got to change because so far through this season, through 49 at-bats, you're batting 143, man. You've got 2 home runs, only 4 RBIs, and you have a 487 OPS. And again, it is a very small sample size when it comes to Keibert. It's only been 13 games this year. And again, I can't harp this enough. I still believe in Keibert Ruiz. But at what point are we going to sit here and say, when should Riley Adams start to share a little bit more at-bats with Keibert? Because again, this Nationals team, they aren't competing right now. We know that. But still, if you have to put out a competitive baseball team, if you have to try to go out there and win every day, which is what this team is going to do, how can you convince me that Riley Adams is not the better option than Keibert Ruiz? Because the numbers don't lie. The defense doesn't lie. The pitching, hell, that doesn't lie either. It's going to start to be something, in my opinion. As Keibert Ruiz, as these struggles continue, something is going to change. I don't know what that will be. I don't know if the Nationals try to make the call to the bullpen, quote unquote, and come have Riley Adams save the day. maybe have Drew Millis take a little bit more time. But something is going to happen with Keibert Ruiz. And I've seen people say this in the past, and I want to shoot it down right now. People just say, well, just move Keibert over to first base. He's not having the offensive production of a good first baseman. And again, then you'll have to figure him out and see if he can play first base. This is not the answer at this point. Keibert Ruiz, if it's going to work for him as a major leaguer, it's going to work for him behind the dish. And at this point in 2024, it's not working for him. And that has been a pretty obvious answer up to this point, but you just have to wonder what has gone wrong with Keibert Ruiz. What will turn around? And will this turn around at this point? It's a confusing, kind of mind-boggling answer because, again, he's got the talent, he's got the power, he's got the hit tool, he's got the pitch recognition, and at times he has flashed some decent defense. But at some point, it just has not ever all clicked at once. And at some point, it's going to have to, because that is what it takes to be a consistent major league catcher. We have not seen that. And that's an unfortunate truth because, again, he's got the talent, but he's got to put it all together and start blending those ingredients and then making a good dinner from it. It just hasn't been a great, smooth 2024 from Keibert Ruiz. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, check us out over on YouTube. Just search Locked On Nationals there. Then you will find your video content of the Washington Nationals. You get to see this face every single day. It's not a great one. So you'll discuss that and you'll see that amongst your peers, but don't make fun of me, please. Thank you all again for Locked On Nationals. Now let's talk about this. Minor league games. You got minor leaguers, you have prospects. Again, this is what 2024 is about. So we have a little bit of update on Robert Hassell, Dylan Cruz, and Travis Sykora. Remember that name, Travis Sykora. This kid could be a stud for this Nationals team down the line. We'll discuss that and a little bit more after we tell you guys about some of our good friends over at DoorDash. And guys, when we talk about DoorDash, I want you to know that you have to have all things off because use the personal introduction of this podcast. And of course, when we tell you guys about DoorDash, there is 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend $15 plus on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. And of course, you want to make mom happy on Mother's Day. Start Mother's Day off with a smile and surprise her with gifts from the brand she loves delivered the very same day with DoorDash. And of course, does mom have a sweet tooth? Is she a tech enthusiast, a beauty connoisseur, or is she outdoorsy? No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with a fruit or flower bouquet, makeup, tech gear, workout wear, and more. And of course, get all your Mother's Day gifts all in one place. And of course, get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend $15 plus on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail store now with code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms do apply. Now, let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at PrizePicks. And guys, when we talk about PrizePicks, I want you to know this, that spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. So don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry to get today. Get on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Of course, we are in the thick of the playoffs, so you want to do this because maybe, just maybe, you were picking the Lakers over the Nuggets. I can tell you this, you were wrong because those Lakers, they choked in the playoffs, of course, but maybe you have the Heat winning tonight against the Celtics, or maybe you have the Celtics beating the Heat and finishing up this series. You can do everything with our friends at PrizePicks. So, of course, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And again, that is code LOCKEDONMLB. Now let's get into it as the Nationals again lost game one of the series against the Texas Rangers. But as Bruce Allen used to say, the Nationals, they still win off the field. Now, I say that Dylan Cruz, the number one prospect in this organization, he has been off to a very slow, struggling start in this season. I'm not going to sound the alarms just yet. Here's something that's a little bit noticeable, though. Over his last 2 games, he has 1 for his last 8 with 7 strikeouts. If you were to tell me that Dylan Crews at any point in time in his major league or minor league career would be 1 for 8 with 7 strikeouts, I would probably tell you you're crazy. Because again, this is one of the better hitting tool guys that we have seen enter the minor leagues in quite some time. This is someone who is supposed to be a generational type of hitter. We have not seen that at this point in 2023. And again, let me say this. I'm not worried. I'm not out here saying you should be upset about Dylan. You should be really worried about what this guy's going to do. He's going to be a plus defender in the outfield and center field. He's going to be a plus bat at the plate. He's going to have some pop. He's going to steal some bases. He's going to be an exciting player. But in 2024, if you're expecting him to make an impact on this major league roster, like I was expecting to just about a month ago, I think I'm ready to call off the horses on that, or call the dogs off, rather. Bad analogy there. I'm not going to say that he's going to make an impact in 2024, and it's starting to kind of feel that way. And again, you should not be concerned about this guy. I am not concerned. I am not worried whatsoever at this point in time on May 1st. But something that I am a tad bit concerned about is, what if it's going to take a little bit of a long time here? What if it takes a little bit longer than we anticipated? Because we have seen that in the past with, again, guys like Bryce Harper. He was a massive prospect. He struggled down in the minors for a little bit there. There were times where Anthony Rendon had some struggles. There were times where Trey Turner had some struggles down in the minors. It happens. And of course, these guys get to the majors and they figure out their steps and they figure out how to make themselves a pro baseball player. There's an adjustment period that I think Dylan Crews is still getting used to. But at what point in time do we kind of sit here and say, are the Nationals going to botch this? I don't think they will, but it's not a good start. Not a good start. And again, he's coming off a hamstring injury, as Andrew Golden was up in AA Harrisonburg yesterday. He covered that game for you. I'm not too worried about it. But still, it's noteworthy. That's what I will say. Another thing that is very noteworthy, that is a very pleasant surprise in the year of 2024, is the way that Robert Hassell has been playing for this Nationals team. If you look at Robert Hassell's stats right now compared to what they were just about 2 weeks ago, Robert Hassell right now has a slash of 308, 423, 415, and an 838 OPS. Robert Hassell could be turning it around here. And if Robert Hassell turns it around within this Nationals org, that is a very pleasant surprise. This is someone who was a top 10 pick back in the 2020 MLB draft. Robert Hassell is still a very young, promising prospect. And while I must say, when I was down in spring training, the one guy that I really got excited to talk to was Robert Hassell. This is, I think, an all-star human being. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great leader. And of course, just a well-rounded person that I think people should be rooting for, who has had a ton of turbulence throughout his minor league career. But Robert Hassell is starting to put it together once again. If he can kind of get his swing back, if he can get his power back in the way that we have seen here over the last few weeks here, having 20 hits over his first 65 at-bats in 2024, this is going to be a huge development for this Nationals team. And again, if you talked with people within the organization, if you kind of read the press clippings, people still believe in Robert Hassell as being a top-fledged prospect. This is still someone who has a lot of talent, who's a plus defender in the outfield, who's got a good hit tool, not all that much power. That's kind of gone out the window at this point, but there is still room for improvement, and he still has that bat speed, in my opinion, that could kind of generate some pop down the road as he continues to grow into his own shoes. But Robert Hassell, you got to recognize this. The kid has been really good so far. I'm not saying he's going to be back. I'm not saying he's going to be some great all-star player once again, but it is noticeable to see that he's putting up these very good numbers. But speaking of someone that I think could put up some very good numbers, is 20-year-old Travis Sykora. If you remember, he was a third-round pick last year by the Washington Nationals. Travis Sykora was originally committed to the University of Texas. He was a big arm. The reason why he went in that third round was a lot of people thought he would have a pretty strong commitment to Texas, but the Nationals went above slot, gave him a ton of money, gave him basically first-round money to come to this organization and hopefully try to be one of their top pitching prospects. And I think this is going to be the guy. Travis Sykora makes his minor league debut tonight in Fredericksburg. He has not even pitched in rookie ball up to this point. He's been pitching on the backfields, obviously, but this is going to be an electric pitcher. This is going to be someone who will be sitting 98, 99, will touch 100 every now and then. And of course, one of his big kind of auras about him, he throws a nasty splitter. And in my opinion, when you are only 19, 20 years old, coming out of high school, if you have a splitter in your repertoire and you're already pitching it at a pretty decent rate and making a lot of batters miss at what she was doing last year in high school and years prior to that at prep school, whatever it was, Travis Sykora should be on your radar. Travis Sykora is going to be someone, in my opinion, that it's going to take some time for him to develop. But again, he's only 20 years old and he just turned 20 years old, literally April 28th, just a few days ago. But at this point in time, you have to kind of wonder, if the Nationals hit this, if they hit this out of the park, what could Sykora be? Standing at 6'6", and he is every bit of 6'6", by the way, at 238 pounds, 232 pounds. My apologies there. I think the Nationals may have found something with this kid. We'll see tonight. If you're in Fredericksburg, send me some pictures. Show me what you're seeing. What is the radar saying up on the big board? I think Travis Sykora is going to be a very pleasant surprise for this team moving forward. We'll see what the Nationals can do with him. We'll see what the Fredericksburg Nats can do with him, because again, this kid could be a stud down the line. We'll discuss that in tomorrow's show and see how he did that, of course. But now we got to preview the Nationals game 2 of this series. And of course, let's do that. But before that, let me tell you guys something about our friends over at Monopoly Go. And guys, you may know this just knowing me, but all right, the game is off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. And I know what you're saying. There's a flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together, build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes that you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers can trade with friend to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasures, a robot pachinko machine. There's always new timed events that will help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now on Google Play or the App Store. Of course, game on. Now we get into it as the Washington Nationals go for game 2 tonight. Maybe the Nationals win. Maybe they pull one off. I'm not going to give these guys just say they're not going to win tonight. You're going up against left-handed pitcher Andrew Heaney. And again, this has been a veteran pitcher who has been around a while. He's pitched in some big situations in years past. But you know who the Nationals have going tonight? By God, that's Trevor Williams music. Trevor Williams, I'm going to tell you right now, he's not your ace. He's not the ace of the staff. We know that. But up to this point, you got to ride the hot hand. At this point, you got to kind of go out there and say, listen, through a handful of starts in 2023, Trevor Williams has been damn good. It almost feels as if, and if you're a hockey fan, you'll understand this reference. When you're kind of the hot team going into the playoffs, and for the Capitals this year, perfect scenario, and Charlie Lindgren, your goalie, is just red hot. You feel as if you kind of have that guy with Trevor Williams right now. And again, it's that backup goalie too. It's kind of you're riding the magic with house money almost in a sense. Trevor Williams kind of feels like that in 2024. You don't really expect anything of him. No one's really kind of circling the pen on in their calendar and being like, well, Trevor Williams pitches this day. We're going to lose that game. But that's kind of what it's been like this year. So far, he does not have a credited loss in his repertoire. And again, in 26 and 2/3 innings pitch, he's got a 105 whip on the season. He has not been walking guys. He's got a 270 ERA through his first 5 starts. Trevor Williams has been incredible so far. And again, this comes from someone, myself, who has been kind of bashing him all offseason, saying he should not be a starting pitcher in today's game. And you could still probably make that argument, and maybe say, well, this has been a little bit of beginner's luck so far. We'll see what this guy does, but it's his 6th start tonight. If Trevor Williams can get a quality start against this Texas Rangers squad, especially against a left-handed pitcher with Andrew Heaney on the bump, maybe the Nationals get something done here. I'm not saying that this is what will happen, but you got to kind of think about this for a second. Can Trevor Williams kind of resurrect himself, be a starting pitcher down the line? It would be a huge development for this Nationals team. And of course, it would be a huge development for Trevor Williams as he's going into a contract year. He could get another little tiny bit of a payday going into 2025, but we'll see what the Nationals do tonight. You got to win the game first, of course. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Today was a loaded show. We went from the majors to the minors and then back up to the majors. On tomorrow's show, I do want to talk about Travis Sykora's debut tonight. We'll discuss that in tomorrow's episode and get you a little bit of a rundown there, as I won't be able to see it in person, but I will be watching on minor league baseball TV. So you guys can do the same. And of course, we will catch you guys on the flip side. Go Nats, beat the Rangers.